Rolling. 1, 2, 3. Hey y'all, Artist Poet Girl here, also known as APG Jamie, and today let's work on a mixed media canvas. So I had previously, when y'all weren't looking because you was taking a nap or sleeping or something, had taken this 8x10 stretch canvas and put on a wash of neon green because it's pretty and stuff. So I'm going to take this here stencil, or it's actually considered a mask by Patty Tolley Parrish, and I'm going to use some modeling paste on it. Yes, this is very reminiscent of the journal page I did back last fall. That would be 2017 fall. Is it falling down in the autumn? So anyway, there I am. I'm using a spreader of sorts that I got at the Hobby Lobby clearance. I don't know if I like that spreader thing too much. It's kind of weird. Maybe I'm just not used to it. You know how that goes. And I'm finally running out of modeling paste. You'd have thought I'd been done with that 2 years ago, but I'm getting there. It might even be dried up by the next time I try to get in there, because I had to cut the tube open from the end. Hey, frugal. Be frugal and you'll have your product longer. Product. So there we go. Textured up. Gonna have to set it aside to dry overnight probably. And sometimes when you use mask and or stencils with your modeling paste, you can end up with some sort of sharp pointy edges. Not always, just sometimes. In my case, it seems to always happen. Well, pretty much. So I'm just taking my sanding block there and sanding off some of the pointiness of it. You know? That's what I did. Now, I wiped it off with a baby wipe when you weren't looking because you blinked your eyes. Trust me on that, y'all. I wouldn't lie to you. Oh, let's use some of my favorites, Distressed Oxide Inks. You guys, I do like this stuff. Oh, it's just, yeah. So, as you saw, I smudged it on my craft mat there that I had folded up, and a word of wisdom from Tim himself. Don't fold them, because they will permanently crease. Anyway, so I spritzed it with water, and I used the packaging technique where you just dip your plastic packaging in the ink splotch and then smoosh it over onto your surface, whatever your surface may be, because I really like that. Okay. And I'm using different colors, and I'm doing the same thing, and there will be, or is, in existence already, a list of ingredients, heat gun, y'all, in the description box below for your convenience and mine, because I don't have to remember what I used because I already wrote it down. And I am using various colors, and that just happens to be a piece of cardstock scrap that was laying on my table, and I'm like, I don't want to waste this precious ink, so I'll just scoosh it up and smoosh it around with this here piece of cardstock that I hopefully will use for something at a later point in time. One day, maybe. I don't know. Y'all. That's the best thing you can do, is use a heat gun, or at least let this dry, your inks dry between layers. You will have a much better surface. So this is how I store my inks. Tim himself says you do not have to store them upside down, but you know, old habits, and that's the way I'm doing it. I put them in a Ziploc bag because that's what I do, because my studio is not always air conditioned or heated, and yeah, I just do it that way. And that's my little craft mat that I folded up. It is permanently creased. So because these will lift with additional wet layers, I am going over it with clear gesso. Now I put on a pile, splotch, blob, whatever, and I'm spreading it out. I'm not going back and forth, as you may be able to tell. Well, I sort of do, but not really. I mean, you don't want to go you just want to go like that. make those sounds because it's fun. It makes it more funnerage, y'all. And that's what I do across the entire thing. Now, I'm not sure if you can tell in the video, I do have slight lifting of the color on my brush. It is not bad at all, really. Okay? Okay. So, I'm kind of going in little quarters of the canvas at a time. And this is a small canvas. It's an 8 by 10, which to me is small. But not as tiny as a 5 by 7, because that'd be pretty tiny. And I'm just going around the outside like a trailer park girl with the clear gesso. And I was extremely happy how well the clear gesso stopped any movement from these distressed inks, because after this, my layers of varnish, which will be coming up, nothing moved. Did not move at all, y'all. Not at all. Now, this was not necessarily a thin layer. I'm finding little spots of stuff on there I'm trying to dig out. Anyway, this was a thin layer, well, medium layer. I wouldn't say too thin. It's probably about a medium layer of clear gesso. So, yeah, smacky lips. It's like those smacky shoes when you wear flip-flops and they smack up and pop you in the heel. Smack, smack, smack. So anyway, that's all dry. And now I'm going over it with some Liquitex varnish. I prefer satin sheen because I don't care too much for shiny. Although it has its place, and I have used shiny because sometimes I want shiny. I'm just not a big fan of it because it causes glare, and not that y'all need to know this, but I have, issues with glare, and it hurts my eyes, and driving with sunglasses in the rain, and, stuff like that. Y'all just thought you knew how special I was. So there I am going over with the varnish, and I'm kind of going back and forth. Now, when you have a lot of texture and you go over it with varnish or any other washes or anything else you're going to go over your textured surface, you're liable you probably will have bubbles in some of the recesses, and that's what I am doing here, because you really shouldn't keep going over and over varnish. That was a hair. I had to pick out a hair with a needle or a pen. That's not a needle, it's a pen. And I'm just kind of generally popping the bubbles with the bristles of the brush. Okay, that dried, or is drying. I set that aside and that's drying. This is an image I got from Graphics Fairy. Okay, great stuff, you guys. If you are not familiar with her, look her up. I'll hopefully put a link in the description box below. If not, I hopefully will remember to do so now. And I'm going back to the ink, because I'm not real sure how color fast the Distress Oxide inks were. I sprayed my canvas before the gesso, and I also sprayed my printout. Now, my printer ink is very good, but I still sprayed it with both of them, workable fixative and UV protection, okay, both by Krylon. And I don't remember which order I sprayed them in. I probably did the workable fixative first and then the UV, because I just want to make sure that I can keep any fading to an absolute bare minimum on this, because it is considered a fine art piece because it's on stretched canvas, y'all, and I said so. So this is an acetate thing. I don't know who the company was that made these. I got them on clearance a long time ago. I like them, and I'm using them. I'm going to try to use them all. Try. Being an operative word. So I put my gel medium on the image itself, which is printed on cardstock, treated with krylon fixative and the UV protection. And I put on a medium layer, and now I'm smooshing it all out, trying to make sure there are no air bubbles, and I'm getting absolute contact with that pre-printed piece of acetate, and I'm very happy with the way it did. Now I'm working on a piece of what you call it, cooking parchment paper, y'all. And stuff is not known to stick to that. Okay. So I just finished squishing out any little air bubbles and leveling out the gel medium. And then I set that underneath a weighted book, not a super heavy book, just a little heavy, and set it over there for probably a weekend. Now these are some die cuts, and it's an unnamed die because it came from a place that came on a slow boat from China. If you catch my hint, y'all. So I'm attaching that to the canvas with the gel medium, and because the varnish is all dry and all that good stuff, so go over it with the gel mediums here. Attaching that, and that is a and I think I sprayed my black cardstock. I think I've sprayed it with the UV protection too, because cardstock will lighten up with sun as well. So yeah, color fastness, people. Color fastness. Now this one down here in this corner, I kind of got it moved in a little too close into the center of the canvas. I end up having to trim my piece of acetate later. Dadgummit, y'all. But I did. And so there, I'm just going over it, and I thought, well, I might as well just go over this whole thing with the gel. So I just pulled off my little washi tape markers for my corner pieces of my acetate there. And I'm going over the whole thing with that. And there again, I'll be working with it, fixing some areas in the crevices, because this is fairly textured. And just for good measure, I thought, I'm going to go over this whole thing again. Okay. And I happen to have signed it as well. Now this is like 2-3 days later, because it's humid here where I live. Even when it's hot and dry, it's humid. Just saying. So yeah, couple days. So I turned in like a 7-day video, however many hours that is, and whittled it down to 15.5 minutes. You're so welcome. So there it is. I've got the 2 layers of gel medium on there. And yes, you can see the brush strokes, and I like that. And as you saw me flip-flopping a book around, it happens to fit underneath this canvas because I want support in the middle of the stretched canvas. So when I attach this acetate with my cardstock image already attached to it, I will be able to weight it down just to keep a consistent pressure on there. Now, when I say weight it down, I'm not talking about like a big cinder block brick, y'all. I'm talking about a lightweight, medium thick phone book. Okay? Not a Houston size phone book, no, y'all. Half the size, a Conroe size phone book. Yeah. Our phone book is both the yellow pages and the white pages. It's the half the size of a Houston yellow pages, which actually comes in a set of 2. Just saying. So I had trimmed that when you weren't looking, because you really didn't need to see me trim it. And by trimming it, I probably trimmed off, I don't know, maybe an 1/8. It wasn't much, y'all. 1/8 of an inch from the sides. And here's that fancy smoosher catalyst tool thing. And I'm wiping it on my finger just to make sure that I'm not smearing the gloss gel on top of the acetate if I squeegee any out, which I'm really not squeegeeing any out. Only a little bit of time. A couple times that it did that. So I'm covering it with my parchment. Here comes the book. Oh, see, that's walking the world. I'm so happy with this, y'all. I have framed it since the video. I'm going to put it in the spring show. And, yeah, makes me happy. Hey, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you haven't done so already. Subscribe if you have not done that also. Kind comment, share my videos, and remember, I love you and I appreciate each and every one of you, your valuable time, and Thanks so much. Disclaimer screen. Thanks for watching, and happy arting, y'all.